This one is korva. Korva.
Karva.
Korva.
Karva.
This one is jalebi.
Ayo koi man cool kundal.
Hey, anga poda inge pudi.
Oi anga idu side la poda.
Hey, avu maadida summa iru.
Hi, my name is Pravar and I am walking on the bund of a lake right now. This lake is pretty close to my house and I have walked by it a lot of times, but only recently have I started to come inside. The lake is pretty wild, as you can see. There's grass on this side where people, like that lady actually over there. There's a lady over there and she's cutting grass, as you can see. She's going to take that grass and feed it to cattle. There's also a bunch of kids that come here and they fish in this area over here because apparently you get a lot of really big catfish. Like one guy said 18 kgs catfish these guys are getting over here. There's 200 lakes in Bangalore and all of them have something or the other happening inside. And even if you live right next to one, you might not really know the backstory of that lake. So welcome to another episode of Bangalore Walks, and this episode is about lakes. It is said that Kempegowda's mother told him, Keregalam Kattu, Maragalam Nedu, which means build lakes, plant trees. Very good advice because Bangalore was otherwise an arid region with no reliable source of water. Most lakes in this region were constructed by farmers for agriculture. They would build bunds, short broad mud walls across valleys and leave an outlet for extra water to continue flowing downstream. These lakes are primarily used for irrigation and then of course as a place to hang out and spend time with your friends. The number of lakes was insanely large. A survey conducted in 1830, for example, records over 20,000 water bodies in the surrounding region of Mysore. In the last century, there has been a shift in our economy with people moving from agriculture to industry and services. As farmers and so farming has reduced inside our city, so did our dependence on lakes. Especially in the city centre, most lakes gave way to infrastructure. From the 60s to the mid-2000s, lakes were filled to build Majestic Bus Stand, Kantirva Stadium, and thousands of layouts, homes and apartments. Further away from the city centre, lakes were not filled so blatantly, but encroached upon little by little from all directions. The exponential increase in the value of land around the city meant that farmland was suddenly worth lakhs, if not crores. And so farmers sold this land to builders that made apartments, IT parks and roads. A lot of the housing that came up in this era, especially in the city periphery, did not have municipal sewage connections. So, wastewater from millions of homes ended up going untreated directly into the closest lakes. Lakes became swamps, and in the 80s and 90s, a few lakes were filled just from the fear of dengue and malaria. The late 90s to the mid-2000s were arguably the worst time for lakes in Bangalore. By this time, we had permanently lost hundreds of lakes, and the few that remained were filled with sludge or construction debris. The scale of repair needed was overwhelming, and nobody knew how to fix the situation. In 2002, a Lake Development Authority was formed by the SM Krishna government to fix lakes. However, they did not have any enforcement powers or an appropriate budget. The LDA was dismantled in 2014 and today is remembered best for trying to privatize the lakes of Bangalore. In 2007, the BMP became the BBMP and they were made the custodians of lakes in Bangalore. Kaikondahalli Lake and Puttanahalli Lake are two lakes that were successfully rejuvenated in this era. It took about 5 years and a significant involvement of local citizens in both cases before the lakes healed. Since the 2010s, due to more awareness, better regulation, and focused budgets allocated for lakes, Slowly, these water bodies are making a comeback into our consciousness as a social, cultural, and ecological space. Today, according to the BBMP Lakes Department, Bangalore has 210 lakes. Only 167 of them are in BBMP custody, and of these, only 65 have been developed. About 13 different agencies have partial control on the city's lakes. These agencies work in silos and rarely coordinate with each other. Further, most of these agencies do not have an appropriate budget for their functions and so fail to do justice to their jobs. The few success stories of lakes in Bangalore all start with local stakeholders organizing at a grassroots level to save a specific lake. But even with the support of the local government, it can take years of running around in government offices and work on ground before a lake can actually be saved. Here's a short clip from a documentary about the rejuvenation of Kaikondahalli Lake that illustrates this problem.
Lakes in Bangalore are managed by a variety of different government departments. So there's the BBMP who actually manages our particular Kaikondahalli Lake. But in order to remove encroachments around the lake, you have to go to the revenue department. There's a Bangalore Sewerage Department, there's a Pollution Control Board. There are, a whole host of other departments. And we would go from department to department asking them for something, and they would keep telling us, this is not our jurisdiction, go to the next department. But Priya is extremely persistent. She will go after every single official who's important and involved in this and basically annoy them to the point of finally they give in to her. Hello.
Given the amount of work that is required and the scale of the problem, the BBMP is very happy to give up the responsibility of fixing and maintaining lakes, especially to corporates and private donors. While this definitely helps improve the condition of lakes in the short term, it comes with some trade-offs. Things today are definitely better than they were in the 90s. Quite a few of our lakes are sewage-free, home again to birds, plants, and reptiles. There's also some social and cultural activity building around lakes once again. Still, a lot of our lakes are left unattended for the want of budgets. The government now releases large sums of money every year for the rejuvenation and maintenance of lakes, which is good, but not all of this money reaches the ground. Long-term funding is especially a concern because a lot of lakes are maintained right now by local NGOs and small organizations, and they don't have the money for big infrastructure like sewage treatment plants or stormwater drains. This needs to come from the government, this needs to be planned for, and this needs to be funded appropriately. Water flows from high ground to low ground. Most of Bangalore's lakes are connected to each other in what is called a cascading system. Water from the 901 meter high Alsur Lake flows to the 874 meter Belandur Lake, flows to the Vartur Lake, which is at 864 meters. A popular way to visualize these connections is to look at these lakes as a series of lakes. Depending on how you count it, we have 6 or 7 series of lakes in our city today. Water used to flow from lake to lake in natural streams according to the slope of land. These streams are converted to Rajakalaways, which are basically canals with walls made of mud and stone. Today, Rajakalaways are being renovated and made of concrete instead. Officially, these Rajakalaways are now called stormwater drains. There are primary, secondary, and tertiary stormwater drains, and just the primary and secondary drains are estimated to have a total length of over 850 kilometers. Our stormwater drains are designed for carrying rainwater only, but unfortunately, today they also carry a significant amount of treated sewage. As a result, they get flooded at many places when the total volume of water exceeds their design capacity. Stormwater drains are also prone to encroachment by builders. This encroachment situation is so bad that the first Google result for Rajakalaway is a website that lets you check if your property was built on one. If you look at the topography of Bangalore city, you'll see that there's a lightning-shaped ridge running roughly north-south. and one more running similarly in the east-west direction. These ridges split the city into three valleys: the Hebbal Valley, the Koramangala Chalagatta Valley, and the Vrishabhavati Valley. If you consider this area, in fact, there's a fourth Arkavati Valley in the northwest as well. Each of these valleys are made up of smaller ridges and valleys. Water follows the natural slope of land in the search of the lowest point, and when you zoom out of this, that is the valley system of Bangalore. These valleys flow into two rivers, the Arkavati and the Dakshina Pinakini. The Arkavati is a tributary of the Kaveri. The Dakshina Pinakini empties directly into the Bay of Bengal. By building haphazardly over these valleys and blocking the natural path of water, many parts of our city end up flooding every year. Major roads like the Outer Ring Road and Sarjapura Road are good examples of this. They block the natural path of water and so are prone to flooding, especially during high-intensity rains. Alright, so that was history and geography of lakes and a glimpse into the stormwater drain system. As part of the research for this video, we decided to visit a new lake every day for 2 weeks. And I think we saw some really cool stuff that we've compiled into a short film. Enjoy. Our relationship with lakes has been cyclical, changing with the needs and aspirations of each generation. Today, the revival of lakes has gathered momentum because our generation is reimagining these village-side agricultural tanks as public spaces in a modern city. Public spaces are something all cities need and something Bangalore severely lacks. Mumbai has a marine drive, Delhi has thousands of parks and forests and monuments. Chennai has the beach. Name one place in Bangalore where you can spend time for free at any time of the day. While there's a lot of potential for lakes as commons, there's also a long way to go before they actually become real public spaces. The few healthy lakes in our city are locked to the public for most of the day, and when they're open, they allow for only very specific activities. To do something as simple as an educational nature walk, it's possible that you may need permissions from the BBMP, local RWAs, and various other organizations. In the recent long-awaited BBMP announcement about opening parks for longer, lakes were left out due to ecological reasons. It's really sad that in the previous scene, An Evening at the Lake, a lot of the people were technically breaking the law. This needs to change. If I can fish, play, waste time with my friends, and walk around lakes whenever I want to, I am more likely to be involved in taking care of this lake. Unless more people build new relationships with lakes and find good use for them, they will remain ignored. We are not going to fight for something we don't even know about. An important first step in this fight is just knowing how big the lake actually is. The extents of the lake Drains and their buffer zones are not officially defined and so are missing or are incomplete on public databases like Google Maps or OpenStreetMaps. As a result, the general public is unable to watch out for any encroachments, and these areas easily fall prey to land grabbers. This map of the stormwater drain network from the BBMP is missing tertiary drains entirely, and this lake and its boundaries are just not shown on Google Maps. There's also an issue with our current vision for lakes. Healthy lakes are public spaces, yes, but they're also critical habitats for plants and animals. BBMP's model of lake rejuvenation considers mainly water holding capacity, but experts argue that this is not ideal.
ಸೊ ನಾವು BBMPಗೆ ಸುಮಾರು ಸತಿ ರಿಕ್ವೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ, ಲೇಕ್ ಶುಡ್ ಲುಕ್ ವೈಲ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ರೀತಿ ನಾವು BBMP ನೀವು ನೋಡೋದಾದ್ರೆ 96 ಇಂದ ಈಚೆ ಕಡೆನೆ ಅವರು ಒಂದು ಬೌಲ್ ತರ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಫಾರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಹ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಓವರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇತ್ತು. ಅವಾಗ ಏನ್ ಗೊತ್ತಾ ವಾಚ್ ಗಾರ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ವಾಚ್ ಗಾರ್ಡ್ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ಅವರು ಸುತ್ತೂ ಬಂಡ್ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು. ಸೊ ಅದೇ ಬಂಡ್ ಅದೇ ಮಾಡೆಲ್ ನ BBMP ಲೇಕ್ ಅವರು ತಗೊಂಡ್ರು ಸುತ್ತು ಬಂಡ್ ತರ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ ಲೈಕ್ ಕೆರೆನ ಪಾರ್ಕ್ ತರ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ವಾಕ್ ವೇ ತರ ಆಗೋಯ್ತಿದ್ದು. ಸೊ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಸ್ಪೀಷಿಯಸ್ ನಮ್ಮ ಪರಿಸರಕ್ಕೆ ಹೊಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಂಗೆ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ನೋಡ್ಬೋದು, ಕೊಕ್ರೆಗಳು ಒಂದೊಂದು ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹಂಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ಏಡಿಕಾಯಿ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಮೀನುಗಳಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಜಿಗಡೆ ಇರ್ಬೋದು, ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಒಂದೊಂದು ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ನೀವು ಬೋಲ್ ತರ ಕ್ರಿಯೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಒಂಥರ ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದರಿಂದ ನಾನು ಸಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋದೇನಂದ್ರೆ ಲೇಕ್ ಡಿಪಾರ್ಟ್ಮೆಂಟ್ಗೆ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಲೈಕ್ ಎ ಫ್ಲಾಟ್, ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಮೈನ್ ಬಂಡ್ ಇರಬೇಕು, ಸುತ್ತು ಮೇ ಬಿ ವುಡನ್, ಬೇರೆ ದೇಶಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ವುಡನ್ ವಾಕ್ ವೇ ತರ ಮಾಡಿದಾಗ ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ಆ ಲೆವೆಲ್ ಅದೇ ಸೈಮಲ್ಟೇನಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಒಂದು ಸ್ಲೋಪ್ ತರ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಅವಾಗ ವೇರಿಯಸ್ ಸ್ಪೀಷಿಯಸ್ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಲಿವ್ ದೇರ್.
You know, Bangalore's biggest problem is traffic. Well, I really think that lakes can help us fix this. As you have learnt, we have hundreds of lakes in the city that are connected to each other naturally. We also know that of the many things missing in Bangalore, footpaths and safe pedestrian infrastructure probably top that list. Imagine a Bangalore where our lakes and parks are all connected. Imagine being able to go from Bellandur to Vartur without dealing with the chaos of Marathalli, while also enjoying the company of plants, animals, and some beautiful Bangalore weather. Loads of countries already do this, and you can read more about them from the links in the description. Our own city, in fact, is working on a project that's kind of a start to this dream, the K100 project, where soon you will be able to walk or cycle along a stormwater drain from Shantinagar to Koramangala. By doing this, we give people a genuine alternative. Often, walking along a lake actually works as a shortcut, and even when it's a longer distance, it will be something that people consider just because lakes and parks are awesome. Of course, there's a lot to consider in such a proposal besides just the people, but it's an idea that I personally can't stop thinking about. And for whatever reason, even if we can't connect all the lakes, we should at least be able to walk from one side to the other side of the lake at any time that we want, without having to jump fences or be harassed by the BBMP. Right, so I think that's the big picture about lakes in Bangalore. Some of the lakes are really healthy, some of our lakes are not in a very good situation, and I think it really comes down to the relationship of the people who live near the lake, the industries and companies near the lake, with the lake itself. Places where the lake is seen and where people use the lakes tend to be healthier. Places where the lake is ignored and hidden behind walls, the lake is not so good. That's the thing, the BBMP and the government at large are very good at telling people what not to do. They will build fences, they will set timings for parks, but they are bad at allowing the public to access public spaces. So really sometimes I think it comes down to cutting the grill yourself, or hopefully someone else has done it already, and getting to know the spaces around you, the city around you. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and see you in the next one.